Let me start by asking you 3 questions. What character comes to mind when I mention these 5 words? Parrot, eye patch, peg leg, hook, and pistols. This character that you visualized, is the general public impression of it one of good or evil? Regardless of where you're from, the answers to these 2 questions are pirate for the first and evil for the second. What about question 3, you might ask? Well, give me a little time to ask that final question. 2 answers, pirate and evil. But did you know that these 5 physical characteristics of what we've come to identify as the pirate anti-hero emanate from one single source of 19th century English literature, Treasure Island? Robert Louis Stevenson, the author of the book, unified traits of real-life historical seafaring personalities to create his hated antagonist, Long John Silver. A book is just a book, right? Well, not in this case. As someone from the Middle East, 2 of the 5 words mentioned at the outset shouldn't trigger a feeling of evil at all, but unfortunately, they do. What they should set off is a feeling of pride that recollects memories of certain heroes of our past. Heroes who lost their credibility because history storytellers, in their case, and their time, be it through biased fiction or non-fiction mediums, were not from the Middle East, but of the West. The 2 words I refer to are hook and eye patch. Our first word, hook, relates to Horus Reis, also known as Baba Horus. With his brother Izir, they came to be known as the Barbarossas, and were claimed to be notorious pirates by the West. By the late 15th century, Horus and his brother were both formidable naval commanders in the Ottoman Navy. Having marine exploits and victories throughout the Mediterranean, Horus's reputation as a naval commander terrorized his enemies. These included the British Empire, Italian states, Spanish Empire, and papacy. One of the major events to Horus's fame and legend was his primary role in helping the Iberian Muslims escape Spanish persecution by transporting them to North Africa. Horus's involvement in our story comes in 1512, when he lost an arm in battle. With this loss, Horus gained a new nickname, Gumush Kol, meaning silver arm, in reference to his new metal prosthetic device that included a hook at its extremity. For the next 6 years, Horus wreaked havoc in defense of Muslim populations around the Mediterranean. A hero to his people, but a nuisance to the Western powers with influence. The life account of Horus was portrayed as one of an outlaw, and his silver hook became synonymous with villainy and iniquity. The second word, eye patch, is a reference to Rahma bin Jabir al-Jalahma. Rahma was born in Kuwait in 1760, and in 1809 became the guardian of a Dammam princedom in what is now eastern Saudi Arabia. With aspirations to unify the Arabian Gulf and end the British Empire's influence over the area, Rahma led a sanctioned naval campaign to disrupt the invasive British, as well as its self-legitimized beneficiary, the East India Company. Although generally outnumbered, Rahma had huge success in causing great losses to the British due to his marine genius and strategic acumen. Such success struck fear into the British and made him a legend in the region. In one of his many battles, Rahma sustained an injury to one of his eyes, and rather than retire from his maritime exploits, Rahma quickly resumed his attacks on the British, with one new change to his visage, the eye patch. This image of the one-eyed Arab became the version the British used for their bounty posters, where they claimed Rahma a criminal and persona non grata. Based on this British narrative, eye patches represented Arab nonconformism, and quickly took on a negative connotation suggesting wickedness and immorality. These 2 historical figures should be revered, yet when we are exposed to their key physical attributes, those that became a signature of their respective lives, we find our reactions negative, due to conditioning that has served other nations' purposes. With this clarity, the third question's time has come. How much of our Middle Eastern culture and history has been falsified through Orientalist prejudice? The major problem is that we are subconsciously accepting Western interpretations as factual representations of our own culture. We reference so-called Eurocentric experts to establish our own understanding of our history. We condone their selective narrative by leaving it unchallenged. Any historical Middle Eastern personality identified in Western literature as a pirate should without question trigger a red flag. More likely than not, these personalities are heroes in our books. They were the ones who stood up to colonization and exploitation. They unified the regional spirit in standing up to entitled foreign invaders. It's time to understand how these subliminal triggers have made us weaker, less proud of our heritage and history. Time to be aware of the various misrepresented symbology that has granted undeserved sympathy for the West. A West that to this day uses every means available to get ahead and make sure that those who should be proud and standing tall are systemically repressed. Be aware of the Captain Hooks that might cross your path. Beware the false narratives that might influence your state of mind. Thank you.